Hesha, welcome to the Calm Mom podcast. I'm so grateful to have you here today. Thanks for making the time to be with us.
My pleasure. And for everyone who's listening, because as we know, moms, every minute in your day is precious or pre-planned.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. We value everyone's time, and that's why I'm so grateful when we have guests like you that can just deliver so much valuable information. So I'm excited to talk about it. So, obviously, the name of the podcast is The Calm Mom. Hesha wrote a book and released a book called Holding the Calm, The Secret to Resolving Conflict and Diffusing Tension. And I think you have an audience of women who are wanting to know all the things. So I'm excited to talk about it. But before we do, let our audience know a little bit about yourself. I know you're also an attorney and have been in that space for a long time, and holding calm and diffusing conflict is a big part of what we do as lawyers and as moms. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Indeed, indeed. I am 66 years old now. I have two children, but they're all both married. So I have four, is how I look at
Beautiful.
it. I have nine grandchildren because I've got some with my husband from his side of the family. So learning how to be calm is such a crucial skill, as we all know, but it's not easy. You
Mm-mm.
can't go, oh, here, take a pill, or
Mm-mm.
"Ooh, tap a little here and life is great. Yeah,
Nope.
doesn't work that way. And the key that I've learned in my own life is, I mean, I'm a lawyer. I'm a mediator. I do high dollar, big conflict cases, big
Yeah.
egos, whacking at each other all the
Yeah.
time. And you don't be calm by saying, be calm.
Nope.
What's wrong with you? And what happens is we tend to be abusive to ourselves as women. Like we lose it. And instead of saying, you know what, I'm entitled to lose it. I'm
Mm.
tired, I'm cranky, I'm hungover, had a
Beautiful.
fight with my husband, my boss gave me grief, my kid gave me grief. You're allowed. How do
Yeah.
you handle it? What are
Yes.
the tools to handle it? And that's what I'd like to share with your listeners today.
Okay, this is so good. So I feel like I'm already questions are popping up into my head because you talked
Good.
about some of the people that you work with, right? And I think, I've been in some of those similar rooms where I'm like dealing with a 60-year-old man who's reminding me a lot of my 4-year-old at home, right? In the same way,
Exactly.
people are behaving, and we have to be able to, one, protect ourselves, I think, from like absorbing all of that. And I think a lot of times it's hard not to take that
Yeah.
home or be influenced by everyone else's
Yeah.
mood or energy or whatever it is. So can you kind of start there? Like, how important is it, whether you're dealing with a child or your partner or a client or someone at a mediation, to really allow for that separation and not kind of be dragged down to the same place,
Yeah.
because I think that's where we effectuate change, right? Like let's start there, and then let's talk about how we can stay calm when we feel ourselves starting to get ramped up.
Excellent, excellent. May I start with a tiny little bit of neuroscience lesson? I'll make it like
Please.
neuroscience for dummies. So
No,
it's
my audience loves that, so go for it.
good. So, and for those of you who know what I'm talking about, it's always a good way to hear somebody else talk about it too. So we have something called an amygdala. It's two small kidney-shaped organs that are in the back of our brain, right above the brainstem. It's often called the reptilian brain because it developed first. And it's the fight, flight, or freeze response. That's all it is. And what's interesting is you cannot control whether you're going to fight, flight, or freeze given a certain stimuli, which
Mm-hmm.
is super interesting when that happens. And what happens is it floods your body with chemicals. You can't think anymore. Your logical, rational brain literally shuts down because, a saber-tooth tiger
Survival. Yeah.
is changing you. And that's what happens. And so
Yeah.
if that guy starts screaming and acting like a 4-year-old, well, is that like your dad when he would do
Mm.
that?
Good.
Or
Yeah.
your husband or your brother or somebody else that triggers stuff in you.
Yeah.
So everything I do is real and what works. That's why I wrote this book, is there's so many books out there with airy fairy, what should work kind of
Mhm.
garbage. It's like, no, what I'm a woman, like, we are all about what works. How do you
Yes.
get stuff done? And so what I do in my work is I've got someone coming in and saying, I want $100 million, from
Mhm.
Apple or Google or, Verizon or Yahoo or these big people. And the company says, here's $10,000, go away.
Yeah.
How do you get that resolved? Because everyone acts like a child. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I want, or
Yes.
don't take it from me. What are you doing? So anytime that you are going to quote unquote lose it,
Yeah.
I would not even use those words anymore. As women, we tend to do that, but that's a really blame-laden word.
That's
So what
great.
I like to
Yeah.
say is I'm triggered.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're a human being, and I give you blessings and permission to be triggered.
Yes. It's
all of
so
our
good.
all of our listeners right now.
Yeah.
And what I will tell you that we'll talk about in the workplace, but also at home, when you do this stuff, you're modeling for your kids. You know,
Yes.
there's an author called Robert Fulghum, and he wrote a book called Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten.
Hmm.
And I read that book 30 plus years ago. Tiny little thing. And it has stayed with me. And one of the things I loved was don't worry that your kids aren't listening to you. Worry that they're always watching you.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely the case.
Hmm.
So when you get triggered and you know to hold the calm and handle it, guess what you've done for your kids? You've
Yeah.
given
Taught
them
them.
permission
Yeah.
to get triggered. And how do you handle it? Because that's called real life. This
It
is real life.
is.
Life isn't, nirvana, airy fairy. I joke all the time that, we want chocolate cake to not be fattening, and
Lo
that
and
just
behold.
so. So it's stuff like that. And so what I'd like to do is just give some techniques and things about how to handle some of this when your amygdala is triggered, if
Mhm.
that's all right.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful place to start because I think when our prefrontal cortex is working well and online, we know all the things we should be doing and saying. And like that's why a lot of times, parenting experts or even in the courtroom, it's like we have these scripts and it's like that's super helpful if I'm regulated. But the minute, right, my amygdala is sending the alarm and I jump into a stress response and I'm in fight or flees, like that just goes out the window. And then what do I do? So teach
Correct.
us. Yeah.
Correct. So the first thing is that, and I want to have people understand why. Okay. So some of you may have had grandmothers that had a rubber band and you snap the rubber band when
Yeah.
you're stressed. And you'd say, why do I have to hurt myself? What's that about?
Mm.
It's interesting from a neuroscience point of view. It really has great benefit because when your body is flooded with chemicals, your sympathetic nervous system is in charge.
Yeah.
Prefrontal cortex goes dark. So how do I get it back? Now, people would like smack you across the face. Well, is there a more gentle way than that? You
That's not
know,
really appropriate in all circumstances. Yeah.
exactly. For snapping, why do I have to hurt myself to do it?
Yeah.
So this is a thing to remember. When you are triggered, always, 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 it is about power.
Yeah.
Either you're not doing what I want you to do, you're trying to make me do something I don't want to do,
Mm.
taking power away from me. You are
Wow.
not giving me power when I should. So it's always power. So
Mm.
what I have figured out for my own self and my own life is I don't want to hurt myself to
Hmm.
try to, get that sympathetic nervous system to calm down.
Right.
So what I do is I have to give myself power because when
Mm.
you're triggered, the amygdala goes powerless, 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 do something.
Hmm.
So snap it, smack someone in the face, take 10 deep breaths. None of that really works as well. So that's the reason why I call the book Holding the Calm. What I
Mm.
figured out, a good 20 years ago is I say I'm triggered and I can feel I'm triggered. I say to myself, I'm holding the calm, I'm holding the calm, I'm holding the calm. 3 times, that takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
What that says to my amygdala is I'm not powerless.
Hmm.
I have options. I have choices. I have skills because I
Mm.
do. And I teach it in the book what those skills and tools are. And I'm going to share some of it on this podcast too, is that says to my amygdala, oh yeah, we have power.
Hmm.
That calms the nervous system down. It takes 2 seconds to do it. And all I can tell you is it works. Let's say I say it 3 times. Let's say I'm really triggered. Okay, say it 10 times in your head. Big deal, because that says to your body gently and lovingly, girlfriend, I got you.
Yeah.
We have choices here. Choose wisely, Obi-Wan. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times you get triggered and then you just make more problems that you have to fix afterwards. Like,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah.
so now I've got these kind of choices. And those are some of the techniques I want to go through. But first, I have to
Yeah.
get it open. I have to
Yeah.
get it receiving, and I have to be able to diagnose what's happening here?
Yeah.
The analogy I like to do is someone finds a bomb in the town square. That guy waddles out in his Michelin suit. He doesn't just start cutting wires. He diagnoses what's there.
Mm.
Is it a pressure switch or remote control? What's going on? So when you get triggered, the first thing you want to do is be able to diagnose, but you
Yeah.
can't when you're triggered.
Yep.
So literally, I have found saying, I'm holding the calm, I'm holding the calm. It forces you to breathe. It forces you to take a step back and a moment of creating a moat
Mm-hmm.
around reactivity. Now, what do I choose to do? And the first thing I'm going to do is diagnose. What the heck is happening in front of me here?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And is it me being triggered where someone's not really taking my power?
Yeah.
Is it, I mean, if it's a kid, we all get triggered with kids, and yet in reality, you're the parent, you got the power,
Yeah. Well,
right?
it's interesting because as you're talking about power, I'm like, man, this is so true. And I feel like for a lot of our audience who might be listening and are like, well, I don't have like power issues or I'm not seeking power or whatever. I think a word that, and you tell me if you think it's the same thing, that I think a lot of our audience would resonate with, that's the same exact thing, is control.
Mhm.
Right? Like we're like we will self-diagnose as, oh, I'm a control freak or I need to control this. And that's power. That's the
It's
same
the
thing
same
that you're
exact
talking about.
thing.
And that's why with our kids it can be so triggering because we want to be able to control them and we
Exactly.
can't.
Exactly. Well, and
Yeah.
also the reason I use power, control is a synonym for it. You're right. But underneath control
Yeah.
always is fear.
Yes. Yep.
Always. But if
Yeah.
you start getting into fear, all you're really doing is more triggering yourself.
Yeah.
Like if I
That
had a
amygdala is going crazy when
Exactly.
those, yeah.
So I don't have time to go into therapy right now. I don't have time to figure out whatever was going on and triggering me. I have to
Yeah.
deal with what's happening here. So we're going to later I'll dissect it and I'll do a forensic, and figure out what the heck was going on. But right now, I have decisions I
Discern.
have to
Yeah.
make it better. So how do I do that? So that's that diagnosing is that first thing.
Mhm.
And the number one first thing to do is repeat back the last 3 or 4 words that the other person just said.
Okay.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
there's something called reflective feedback and mirroring that some of our audience may, know some of that stuff, which are great advanced techniques. Those are great. But in a moment of triggering,
Yeah.
you're not going to do a great
Stay
sophisticated
basic. Yep.
techniques, right? Stay basic. So all you have, let's say someone just launched on you with, whatever. I don't care if it's you're doing a bad job at work or you don't love me or I hate you or whatever. It doesn't make a difference what it is.
Okay.
All you have to do is repeat back the last 3 words. Why? It shocks the heck out of them. So
Hmm.
it stops the onslaught.
Okay.
It gives you some space to hold the calm and to breathe a minute and to diagnose exactly what's going on. And it completely changes the game. Somebody throws a hot football at you and you go, we're playing tennis because that's what I
Mm.
like to play. We're not playing football. That's what all happens in that 10 seconds when all you do is repeat back the last 3 words. And then someone, what? 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 Now that's the book is 20 techniques in 20 chapters, each for different circumstances and situations.
Okay.
But that's like, if you're really triggered, that's the number one great thing to do. Just
I,
imagine your kid says, I hate you. You hate me?
that tone, I want to talk about that for a second because I think when we are really triggered, tell me how important it is when we repeat those words, the way in which we do it. Because I would imagine that could also, if we're screaming back, that probably isn't as effective as if we
Correct.
do what you just said and just say, you hate me, or,
Correct.
whatever it is. So talk to us a little bit about
Correct.
that.
So everything, when we talk about tone, it's great. But what it really is, like, now in the world of therapy, nothing is good, nothing is bad, blah, 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 blah. But I'm sorry, when it comes to tone, there is good and bad. And everyone
Absolutely.
knows, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's you say it nice or you say it snark.
Yep.
It's just as simple as that. Even if you go into snark, you're triggered.
Yeah.
It'll work a little bit, but it won't work as well as it could work if you do it neutral.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
if you can't do it kind and you can't do it curious and you can't do it open because you're a human being, give yourself grace for God's sakes.
Yep.
You are allowed neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
You just repeat back. And then if you say to yourself, I repeat back the last 3 words, neutral,
Mm-hmm.
it changes the entire dynamic. And what it really does is puts the other person on the defensive.
Mm-hmm.
People say stuff and they don't hear it. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they hear it back, people cringe a little.
It's a power exchange.
See, that's why I go to power.
Yeah.
It is a power exchange, and it doesn't get into control and fear and all that stuff. It's like, I got to deal with this
Yeah.
right now. I'll deal with the bigger stuff later, but right now there's, it's like a doctor in an ER where there's hemorrhaging, and let me give everybody another disgusting analogy that mothers will know, because we've all had to deal with throw up. And when my kids throw up, it makes me want to throw up. I have to like look away as I'm cleaning them and try to help, right? But think about someone in an ER. Doc goes in, a patient comes in and goes, "Oh, doc, my stomach." Bleh. Well, the ER doc, she doesn't argue with you. She
Yeah.
looks at the vomit. What's in there? Is it pills? Is there metal? Does it smell the way it's supposed to smell? It's a diagnostic. So when somebody verbally vomits at you, you're an ER doc. You're triage. That's all it is. And if you keep those mental images in your mind, you got power,
Yeah.
skills, you
Yeah.
got choices, you got options. Now, my amygdala and my sympathetic nervous system can go, you got this, girlfriend.
Yeah.
I can do it. And I don't care if you're in a business meeting with somebody over talking you or stealing your ideas, or a kid, razzing you. And, I always remind parents, you couldn't pay me to go back and be a teenager. I mean, all those hormones raging in your body.
Oh, it's tough.
Oh, it's just awful, And so we have to have a little grace for them too. And so if you model this behavior to where I lost it, and then the other, can I go to the second technique I want to share with everybody quick? I call it the do-over.
Okay.
Most parents or bosses don't ever do that because we feel like we have to be tough and strong and like this, and we can't, we can't admit we're wrong. Oh, no way. You admit you're wrong, you've got more power.
Agreed.
So if you didn't handle something well, either afterwards or in the middle of it, I always know I'm doing really well if I can catch myself early and go, that didn't come out the way I wanted it to come out. I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm upset, and I took it out on you. I have really apologized. May I have a do-over?
Yeah.
Who says no to that?
Yeah.
Seriously, who says no to that?
It disarms everything. It really does.
Completely.
Yeah.
And you know what it also does in the other person? You just went up in their esteem.
Agreed.
If you want to go up in somebody's esteem, you do that. It's a guaranteed winner every time. And you screwed up.
Yeah.
Think about it that way.
Wow.
I want to go up in your esteem. I will screw up and then apologize and ask for a do-over. You're going to go, wow, that was impressive.
Right.
And I don't know if I could do that, but you did that. And then you give your kids permission. I do that with my kids I wish I had figured this out earlier. I didn't figure it out till they were really late teens and, going into college already. My life would have been a whole lot better if I'd figured it out earlier.
Oh.
The do-over is the greatest thing ever. And then with adults, you can ask, let's say, Michelle, you come at me with something, right? I can also get triggered, say, I'm holding the calm and say, Michelle, I don't think you meant for that to come out the way it came out. A do-over.
Yeah.
Doesn't that also disarm you?
Yeah.
Just also, let's say you're triggered and you're going every place, right? Well, you're triggered, so I can't have a logical conversation with you. Remember, your prefrontal cortex is shut down.
Right.
But if I can stay calm, I'm holding the calm for you. And I can look at you and say, let's take a step back. I'm not sure you meant for that to come out the way it came out. Can we have a do-over? You know? And what I'm finding with like my book is I've got businesses, churches, organizations that are having book clubs, and they all will buy it and read it together. Then it becomes part of the vernacular to where I can say to you, Michelle, you seem really upset today. Can I hold the calm for you?
Wow, beautiful.
Isn't that just like a gift? Because
it is.
Wrong with you? You seem really stressed today. No, I'm not. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But it seems like, you might be having a tough day. Can I hold the calm for you? no one's going to say no. They may say, no, I'm okay. Or, you know what?
It's been
Thank you
tough.
for saying that.
Yeah.
But when you say to somebody, you look tired, you
Yeah.
know, you look
I
like you're
know.
upset.
We've all
Oh,
heard that. It's like, oh,
it
it's not
irritates you
helpful.
more. Like, go away. You're
Oh,
not being helpful to me.
I feel worse though.
But being able to say, can I hold the calm for you?
Mm,
That's why I called this the book. That's why I did that, because this is not a book for sissies. This is
mm,
not a touchy-feely kumbaya. No, this is real, live, hard life
yeah.
stuff. But life is hard,
Yeah.
especially, working moms. Life is hard.
It
And
sure
we
is.
need, and the thing is, I need magic beans in my pocket. I don't have time for some big, huge theory and let's sit down and talk for an hour. Who's that?
No, it's
I
not
need stuff that's
practical.
going to work quick,
Yeah.
fast, and get us rowing in the right direction. And then later, if we feel like having a postmortem and discuss our feelings or
Yeah.
whatnot, yeah, we can do it. But this is triage stuff.
This is so good. It's so helpful. Um, I've spoken about this on the podcast before too, but especially when my children were younger, something I used to tell myself all the time was I would just be like, peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. And I'm kind of hearing, I didn't even know what I was really doing, but I guess I was doing the same thing as saying, I'm holding the calm. I'm holding the calm. And it was just like calming my nervous system so I would be able to do what I needed to do. And that reminder of the focus and the safety, right? That it starts with me. I wonder, this is so helpful. And I love the idea of repeating back those three words. And I wonder also, what is your teaching when the tension that we feel is not so much verbal? Like maybe it's the nonverbals, maybe it's the expression, maybe it's the position, maybe it's the volume or whatever it is. How do we
Yeah.
calm down in that?
Well, I have a whole chapter on silence, because
Okay.
silence speaks volumes, does it not?
Yes.
So I have a whole thing where I talk about that. And so it's like the next level. It's a little more advanced. So let's go ahead and talk about that.
Okay.
When somebody is going into silence, that
Yeah.
means that their amygdala is triggered even more,
Yeah.
and skill set is a little less, and they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
So rather than be infantile and scream and yell, they just kind of go
Silent treatment or passive
silent treatment
aggressive.
because they don't know what to say. So
Yeah.
if you try to make someone talk, you're taking power from them. How are they going to
Um,
react? Amygdala is going to trigger even
yeah.
worse.
I can see this
So,
playing out like in so many marriages, people listening right now, and they're
so
like,
much,
oh, like they just had a light bulb moment. Oh, that's why he does that, right?
especially for men, because
Yeah.
women have 100 words for snow.
Yeah.
Men have four feelings, mad, like two feelings really, mad and glad. Mad that their team lost, glad that their team win. They don't have, because we've not trained them
Same
that way.
range.
So,
Yeah.
and it doesn't come up easily for them.
Yeah.
So when they're silent, they need power. So how
Mhm.
can you give them power? Easily. Instead of repeating back the last three words, you say, it seems like you want some space for yourself to process some of this. I want to respect you and give you that. Can you let me know when we can talk about it?
Mm.
That took me 4 seconds.
Yeah.
What did I do to the other person? They
Mm.
went, I feel respected,
Yeah.
feel heard, even though I didn't say anything.
True.
I feel like I've got some power back.
Yeah.
Now their amygdala has calmed down. Now,
Yeah.
if they've read the book also, you can say, I can just hold the calm for you because I can see that this is triggering for both of us. You don't want to say you're triggered because that's
Yeah.
real.
They get
I have a whole,
defensive.
I have a
Yeah.
whole chapter in the book called the blame, defend, justify death dance that we do that you want to avoid like the plague. And we all do it. And
Yeah.
when I can avoid, I have avoided it. I've gotten to the point now where I've avoided like 95% of the time because it's toxic and there's no
Yeah.
good that comes from it, and we all do it.
Yeah.
So learning how to get around that. And then what will happen is for the other person, you just went up in their esteem
Mm.
because, again, from a neuroscience point of view, there's something called the bias of reciprocity. Neuroscientists have found and identified 167 cognitive biases. One of them is the bias of reciprocity. So if I respect you, there's a natural inclination to want to respect me. Now, if
That's
I
fascinating.
demand you respect me, screw you.
Mm-mm.
Why would I do that for you when you're not respecting me?
Right.
Oh, it's super. interesting,
It is.
even something easy like, would you like a cup of tea
Mm,
or a
beautiful.
cup of coffee? Or it's in the evening and your husband say, would you like a beer? I mean, it's just such a small thing, but what you're saying is, I see you
Yeah.
and I see that you're struggling, and I'm not going to label you. I'm
Yeah.
not going to make you feel bad about it. I'm going to give you some space and time.
Yeah.
And then can we talk about it now? And then also gives you some space and time. Because if you
Mm.
think about it, the fights we have with family and friends and kids, aren't they the same fight over and over and over? It's like
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So let's break the cycle. And that's what I've been working at my whole life in my own personal life, breaking the cycle. So that when it's the same tune, yeah, we're not singing that song. I'm not going to sing that song. That's not
Yeah.
what's going to happen, and I'm going to do something more effective,
Mm.
right? And this
Yeah.
is telling you, this is just, it's the thing I always want to tell people is this is easy.
Mhm.
People write these big fat books and you have to take training classes or get a degree or something. Who has time for that stuff? And
Yeah.
honestly, you don't have to. Now, if you want to be a professional like me and do this for a living, all right, you got to do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But to have some of the things that, professionals have, this should be taught in school. I mean, this
Yes.
should be a
Agreed.
basic like financial literacy and emotional literacy. It would just eliminate so much conflict and
Yeah.
bumper car egos. I mean, I have friends that are super right wing and I have friends that are super left wing. And each tell me I can't talk to anybody else but you because you actually listen to me. And I can listen,
Yeah.
I can listen and be curious
Yeah.
about, why would you think that way? Huh. Now, if I'm not triggered because I know I have my power, I can listen to you more. But
Yeah.
if I feel like you're trying to take power from me,
Yeah.
we have a different story. So now I have
That's
to
right.
give myself power back. But I can do that. I don't care who you are or what you're doing. I can give myself power back. Now, from that place, I diagnose and I handle what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Want to say to everybody listening, don't think you're going to be an expert at playing piano tomorrow when you're
No.
playing Do Re Mi today. But what I did in the book is I made so many simple, easy tricks, like I just told you some of them, so that you do those immediately. Okay, now I can take on something a little harder. I
Yeah.
can get a little better. You can immeasurably improve your life immediately. That's what I wanted to be able to share and why,
That's awesome.
I did the work and effort of putting this book out there.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I love all of it. And what I love is that it's all rooted in curiosity and compassion. Those are like the two most effective weapons that we have when it comes to anything, right? And they're core tenets here on the podcast. Okay, I kind of want to end here because I'm curious what your take is. I read a statistic from the Gottman Institute about parents, and I don't have the exact number because I don't remember it. But it was something like 85% of conflicts in a marriage actually have no resolution. You actually have to just figure out how to agree to disagree. Like I like it to be, I don't know, I like the windows open when we sleep and you don't like the windows to be open when we sleep. So we gotta figure it out in order to kind of keep this whole thing moving. And I wonder if that's been your experience in a lot of things. You've done all of these mediations. And then when it does feel like there is no solution or we just really don't agree on the same thing, what do you think is the best approach there or an approach that you find to be effective?
So I'm glad you asked that because that's the first, I mean, I've done 200 podcasts, and you're the first person that's ever asked me that. So I find that very interesting. I would be very surprised at that statistic. Now, um, it's too high. And the reason why I say that is that if you are in a relationship where there's constant power struggle and lack of
Yeah.
respect,
Mm,
that is probably true. The goal is to be in a relationship where there is not constant power struggle and there is respect.
mm,
So I would look at it that way and say, if that's how I'm feeling in my relationship, then I've got to sit down with my partner and figure out how we can get respect back
yeah.
into our dialoguing. And it's not an issue of you like the window open, you like it closed. It's I respect and honor you that you're hot, and I respect and honor you that you're cold,
That's so good. Yep.
how can we take care of each other's needs?
Yeah, it's so
How
good.
it's like, it's so completely different.
Yeah, it's not me
And then-
against you.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it's you're only watching sports. Well, you only want to go shopping. I mean, something as stupid as that.
Yep.
It whenever you're in the you only, you've lost respect. And we've
Mm,
lost it. So go to the neuroscience bias of reciprocity, where and then you have this kind of a conversation.
so good.
I wouldn't just start doing it and hope the other person does it. That's, that's not how you do it.
Okay.
Basically, want to be able to say, I think that we are in power struggle, and I
Mm,
think that we have lost respect for each other.
call it out.
And I would like to
Yeah.
find a way to begin to rebuild that because, and this is one of the chapters in the book, what I admire about you is this. What I
Ooh,
like about you is this. What I love about you is this. What I respect about you is this.
so good. Yeah.
Imagine you did those four. Those are the sentence stems I do.
Okay.
What is your partner going to do? Whoa. I mean, I have goosebumps as I'm telling you that.
Yes.
And they're going to have to think about it, especially if it's a man, because men don't access their emotions as well as women do.
Yeah.
And say, look, I don't want to hit you with that, but I'd like to ask you to think about that. And then, tell me what you love, what you like. Like is as important as love. What you like about me, what you love about me, what you admire about me, what you respect about me. Those four.
Powerful.
Now,
Yeah.
he may have to go back and really think about it all day because, you're my wife. Well, no.
There's more than that.
There's more. So it forces that. Now you have a decent conversation that literally, it's like a Control Alt Delete on your computer. It stops it.
So good.
Now you can start again. And then the conversation is, because a good therapist should do this, but the problem is a good therapist is you both come in blaming. He did this, she did this, and the therapist can't get to this stuff.
Yeah.
I say, and I've been through marriage counseling. I was divorced. I'm remarried. I get all this. Marriage counseling didn't work at all because it was more referee sport. This is really, I don't care what happened in the past. That was
Yeah.
old. Doesn't
Yep.
matter. It's the
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And if you can't answer those four questions, then you're in the wrong relationship. Okay.
Mm.
So now you know that. And you can find a way of decoupling in a healthier, better way than the normal nasty way it is. And you still do it with those four questions. Because if you married that person, I guarantee you, at some point, you had positive answers to those
Yes,
four
for
questions.
sure. Yeah. Yep.
So you start with that, and then being able to say, I think we're getting into power struggle. And
Mhm.
where do you find that I'm in power struggle? And
Mm.
believe me, he'll tell you.
Powerful question. Yeah.
And then you say, well, and notice that even today in our podcast, I asked you, may I say this? May I say that? It was a way of giving power. So you do
Mm.
that with your partner. May I tell you where I think you have power struggle with me? What are they going to do? No,
Right. Right.
right? Now you get to hear, they get to hear things. And what I say to people is don't try to resolve it in one setting. It took a while to get there. First, just identify it. But if
Mm.
people, again, I wrote this little simple $15 paperback so that you guys can have techniques, read it together, discuss it, and say, oh, that is a dance we do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time you this, I that.
Yeah.
I have a whole chapter in there about percentages. When people say, you always do this.
Mm.
Okay. What percentage of the time is always? 37. Really?
Not
And I
nearly
say the
always.
word always, I mean 92. And it
Yeah.
becomes this fabulous diagnostic technique.
Brilliant.
Now you start actually talking to each
Yeah.
other, and you can have a do-over and start fresh. I use this stuff, I teach this stuff, it works.
Oh, what a gift you are. This is brilliant. And I feel like there are so many handles. Like for those of you listening, man, whatever resonated most or you think would have the greatest impact on what you need right now, like go back, listen to that part and like put it into practice this week. Play around with it, right? See what happens. But there's so much in this, and you're right, it's so practical. Like we actually can put this into practice, and we're gonna find that it's helpful now. Yes. Oh my goodness. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find the book. We will link it all in the show notes for you guys. This has been so wonderful.
Thank you. It's on Amazon, of course. And if you like it, it can leave a review. That always helps with the search engine stuff.
Yeah.
But it's everywhere. Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Target, I mean, wherever they sell books. I have a holdingthecalm.com where I give all kinds of free stuff. I've done 1-minute videos on how to handle Thanksgiving dinner with an obnoxious relative. You know, I do stuff like that, and it's all on there for free for people. This is sort of my gift because I work, I have a job, what I do. So this is really my gift because I can't stand seeing misery out there, and I got tools to help fix it easily.
Yeah.
So you can do that. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm also on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, I post every single day.
Okay.
And Instagram, I'm starting to post every day. So I try to do everything is in 1 minute or less. Tiny little tidbits that we're all busy. I don't have time.
Yeah.
So one little thing, I can spark with it. I can play with it. If it resonates, great. If not, there'll be another one tomorrow.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
kind of the way I feel about getting my nails done and I didn't like the color. Yeah, do it again next week.
That's right. That's it. It's so good. It's so good. And I love that too, because, you know, people that are searching for this, the last thing we need is overwhelm, right? The last thing we use a 37-step plan or whatever. So I love that you're giving it in bite size, and it's like, then it can all build off each other, right? Just get started somewhere and then try her next tip next week and then try something else. And then you've got a whole toolbox.
I did it really simple that the book is designed to be read in 2 hours. It's a simple, easy book. I tried to initially get it published through more, you know, fancy, and they were like, oh, it's too casual. And I go, yeah,
the point.
To be able to read it
design
easily and to do it. And then, you know, I'm published with a boutique business publisher that's then through Penguin Random House, which is very nice.
Yeah.
And it has just been published in Chinese. And if you give me a second, because I think our listeners will laugh. Let me go get it. Hold on.
Okay. This is great.
So you can see the copy of the book and what it looks like there. Look what I had no choice, but look what they.
Oh my gosh, it's a cat holding. What's it holding? Oh no, it's just like sitting there. I thought the white was something else. It's just sitting there. Oh my gosh,
cats in China are calm, so they call it the calm. And I went, I would never have chosen that ever, but you know what? It's selling really well in China.
They knew what they were doing. Oh, that's so funny. I love that.
Funny,
congratulations. Congratulations on the success of the book. And you have very clearly tapped into a need. And I'm just so grateful that you answered the call and are putting this information out there, because Lord knows we need more calm in this world.
Yes.
So thanks so much for being with us. It really has been such a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.